What's up, buddy? It's another perfect day to kick back and not have to worry about racing up here.
Just rubbing it in ahead of the late season podcast. September 21st, the year it's 2023. Welcome aboard, everybody. You listen to the Crushing Iron podcast, episode 716.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Love you just jabbing it to
I know.
the people that are lining up at, was it Jones Beach, New York this weekend for a sold out 7.3 with like 3,000 plus. You got Ironman Chattanooga. You got Augusta. I mean, there's a lot going on. And you're like, yeah, it's nice. Just kicking back here at the lake. Got your Crocs on, probably your slippers, probably posted up, looking out at the water, cup of coffee, probably still in your robe. You got your knitted cap on. You're just embracing the off season and just jabbing it.
Yeah.
Like those of us that are still grinding away. You got Kona in a few weeks. You got all kinds of races still ready to happen. But yeah, it is beautiful day here. Beautiful Thursday. Hope you have all had a fantastic week and enjoying yourself thoroughly, whether it's your beginning of your off season or you are still smack dab in the middle of the season. And that's what we're going to talk about today, as promised. That we discussed on Tuesday, and we'll be totally honest with you. We did about a 15 to 20 minute pre-show meeting about our topic for today, and then towards the end of it, I was like, "Oh shit!" Yeah. Remember on Tuesday we said we we throw some bones to those athletes still grinding away at Arizona, Florida, Cozumel, Kona, all the other races that haven't happened yet. So you know what? We got your back.
This day's for you.
So we'll cover that today. Yeah.
See how we get when we get jacked up about, the new Louisville race, and we're just jacked 24/7.
We are. And I'm going to touch on that. That'll probably be our segue into today's topic. For those of you tuning in for the first time, welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have quite a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general terms are valuable, so we appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We do race recaps and also a lot of race previews. But for the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, we just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through in life, not just as human beings, but also as coaches and athletes ourselves. Mike and I work with a wide range of athletes all across the globe, from beginner level triathletes doing the very first 5K, or sprint triathlon, all the way up through elite level amateurs trying to get back to world championships and everything in between from all over the globe. And we use the feedback loop we have with them and training peaks, emails, text messages, and the like to drive the discussion of the day. We also utilize our Facebook group. You can search that, Crushing Iron Group. Answer one simple question or let you right in. Awesome people, fantastic community, solid resource in a sport that is way overcomplicated and confusing. It is a solid space to ask questions and get good, actionable feedback on from veterans and rookies alike to help you avoid some of the pitfalls that we've all made along the way, but have learned and grown from. And we hope you can too. We'll go in there about once a month, every 3 to 6 weeks, do a Q&A, take the pulse of the community, answer as many questions as we can. That is it. We don't do sponsors. We don't shill out ads, but we do have an agenda, and that's to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
How do you rank that one against last one?
Close.
Pretty close, pretty solid. It was smooth, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it as on, but I would say it's similar. It was inspired by Tuesday's intro.
It was a little FM radio voice there, man. You had it going on.
I would say it's up there. Listen, you get 716 of these. You can still get better. I'm still trying to figure out how to get these intros out and how to not trip up on words. And, people, it's funny, we get questions. I get questions all the time from people who I meet or talk to, and they're like, so what's the editing process like? What's this? I'm like, we don't edit anything. We hit record, we go shoot, and then we're done. And obviously, sometimes you have to edit a few things along the way, but yeah, it is just real and it's raw. And I think that's honestly what a lot of people like about it. It's just, like you said, two guys having a chat, catching up, talking about through life and training and the sport of triathlon, things we love, things we don't love, things that are hard, and hopefully ways to make your life a lot easier. And my life was made significantly easier in 2024 because, as we kind of alluded to and had an ear to the ground, the rumor mill was circling. Ironman Louisville 70.3 is back. Same river swim as before. What I would imagine is very, very similar bike course. Obviously, it's going to be half. They can't do the whole stick because that's like 70 miles, but very similar on the way out. And then I think the run course they used the last year up by the river through the parks, but downtown 4th Street Live finish. All that is great, but the greatest thing is the date. They brought it back to August 18th. Hottest, without a doubt, hottest part of the year. The hottest race, 70.3, at least Ironman official race in North America next year, guaranteed, which is going to make it hard, really hard and challenging. We had I saw people posting questions and asking them, why would you even want to do that? I'm like, well, why not? I mean, we spent, let's honest, the last 2 or 3 years, Ironman's done a pretty damn good job of trying to find the easiest place possible to make the easiest courses. Downstream, perfect weather. I mean, there's nothing. There's barely anything to find, right? Hell, Muncie used to be in July. That used to be a super hot race. Let's put it in a late September, October. Let's take it easy on the people. And everything's become easier. And we kind of lost a little bit along the way. So I love this is going to be a hard ass race. Yes, non-wetsuit swim, still downstream, hard bike, hot bike, and then just blistering hot run. I love it. Bring more of those on. I think people are craving it. I think you'll see that when this race sells out in the first month. It'll be the quickest selling out 70.3 of 2024. I'm calling it right now. But happy to have it back. Definitely excited to go out there and race it. Be back in Louisville, special place. As we talked about Tuesday, won't talk too much about it. But yeah, go sign up, be a part of it. If you're looking for a good, challenging, learn something about yourself race, not just during the event, but in the lead up, go to Louisville. Louisville, however they say it.
Yeah. The thing about hard races is you get there mentally before you get there. There's no such thing as an easy Ironman. How they try to couch it in this a nice easy swim and a nice easy rolling bike. It's not easy. And if you're not mentally prepared for something hard like that, it's going to be harder. But if you go into a race, it's going to suck and it's going to be tough and rough. And I think you're better off, So I just wanted to put that in there. But by the way, I haven't completely rolled up the towel for the fall here. I've been doing it the opposite of the Louisville course. I've been doing sunset swims up here. But I'm telling you, it's
everybody.
It's like the sun's going down. But no, the water's it's getting down there a little bit, probably mid 60s. But I haven't been doing no wetsuit, just trying to build up my brown fat content so I can handle the cold weather.
So you can handle the cold weather?
Yeah.
You better.
It's pretty amazing that I'm doing this actually. Not any sun on you, and it's pretty cold. And then I got the sauna working, so this is one thing that I'm trying to throw out to my athletes a little bit. Is we got kind of a little bit of a resortish vibe up here, and that could be part of the program if anybody's interested.
Sounds like it needs to be part of the program. It sounds like good. Sounds like good living up there.
Oh yeah, you getting that sauna? It's nice. Anyway, I just threw that in. But let's get into these late season races and how to keep yourself ready to go. Because when everybody else is
you segue to it pretty well. Talking about how every race is hard. And listen, this kind of goes to strengths and weaknesses, and not just physically, but also mentally and bandwidth and hanging on for late season. There's a lot of benefits, right, to late season races. They're in racing in September, October, November. It's pretty much what I would call late season. Obviously, there's one, I think, 270.3s in December, but for the most part, it's the meat of the year, the quote unquote late season year of September, October, November, because obviously the weather. So, but on the flip side of that is you tend to start training for it a lot earlier because of the conditions. You're out in the summertime. You probably get your long rides, your long runs in. So you're going to be out in the heat. You're going to be out working really, really hard. And then obviously when the weather changes, it's like seasonal EPO. You feel a whole different kind of level of fit. But it is also kind of like, a lot of athletes get what the kids call FOMO, and they sign up for show. They're jealous they're not racing. Well, a lot of athletes this time of year tend to get FOMO too, because they're heading out for a 5-6 hour ride on Saturday where their kids are growing out, or their friends are growing out watching football. And it's, a beautiful fall day and they're about to go sit on their crotch for 6 hours. Yeah, just watching football sounds pretty nice. So like that's part of the distraction. But kind of what you said about every race being hard. And I've used this for this quote before is, I think one of the very first years I got into sports, this is a long time ago, like 20 years ago, I asked a coach, what's the hardest Ironman you've ever done? And he said, the hardest Ironman that I've ever done is the one I'm training for right now. And he meant that your next one is always the most difficult one. Even if you've raced 20 or 2, the one you're training for right now is always the most challenging, will always be the hardest because it's right now. And there are still so many variables that are unknown. The other ones you can grade easy, right? You know how your training went because you went through it. You know how the race went because you already did it. But training and preparing and peaking at the right time for a race that could be perfect weather, it could be terrible weather, it could be great, it's all unpredictable. And that's why it's so hard to have like the perfect race. And especially with like late season races, yeah, you kind of know what you're going to get then the meat of the season of the hottest times of year, like, July, August, which probably don't race a ton, but the weather is always kind of a variable. And even take Chattanooga, for instance, it's either like perfect weather or 100 degrees. I mean, it could be anything. And so it's just very unpredictable. And I think whether you're a first timer doing the sport, for the first time, that's, and honestly, I think you and I have even touched on this before, talking about you and other athletes, is that a lot of people sometimes will have their best races their first because they have this really healthy level of fear. They don't have any clue, right? Just like you don't have any clue now, whether you've raced 7 years in a row, you don't know what the next race is going to be like. Yeah, you know the distance, but you have no idea how it's going to play out. No clue at all. And that's scary. But a lot of people go into these races thinking they expect it to be easy because they've done it before.
Oh, yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Sophomore slump.
And it's a lot. Yeah, yes, you nailed it. Sophomore slump. I think we even have a podcast title called Sophomore Slump. People go out for their first big race, whether it's a sprint, Olympics, 7.3, a full. They go out. They have this really healthy level of fear, this healthy level of like almost self-doubt. Can I do this? I don't know. But I know that if I, cut corners or don't take it seriously or don't, dot my I's and cross my T's, then I'm going to even lessen my chances of being able to make it. So they pay attention to everything. They get it all done. They're focused, little fearful, but they are ready. And that's important to them. And then they do it once. You get your finisher jacket. You got your picture. You got your medal. Everybody knows you're an Ironman. It's your new profile, description. You're a pro. You're a pro. Time to head to the, USAT CERT clinic and become a, an Ironman certified coach. You're ready to roll. And then you don't take it as easy. You're like, I can always get back at it, whenever I need to. I've done it before. It's not that bad. It's they say hindsight's 20/20. And I think a lot of people go into races go into preparation with that. And then when you start to get repeatable numbers and repeatable times and you start to not miss PRs again, you always kind of blame, a variety of things. But a lot of it is that we lack that healthy fear or that overly, I was having a conversation with an athlete this morning via email. And I said, that's an almost an overly ambitious goal. I love it. Let's do it. And it scares the shit out of you. Like it scares the athlete. And they even said, like, listen, I know this is a stretch. I know it's probably a stretch, but I feel like I need that extra stretch. And I need to say this goal out loud. I need to say what I really want. I need to say what I really want to do. Is it ambitious? Yes. Maybe overly ambitious? Sure. But I'm comfortable with that because I want to go for it. Because I think we oftentimes look at comfort in a kind of a negative way. Like you're comfortable, you're too comfortable, you're set in your ways, you're stale, you're not energized, you're not motivated. And that's true. But being, as the saying goes, comfortable being uncomfortable, I think there is a certain comfortability or being comfortable with having a goal that you kind of doubt might happen, but you're willing to see it through and see what might be able to be accomplished. And that's an incredibly healthy way to go, and a healthy way to approach things. And the key to that, right? And when you start to talk about training for late season races, as you see all these athletes that are very, very, so all your training buddies, right, are done for the year. That's something you always hear from athletes. All my training buddies are done. I'm doing all these rides solo. It's hard to stay focused. Is you can create these kind of like not overly ambitious, but these kind of scary micro goals for your races and for your training because you have to do that, right? In hard times, if that's what you're struggling with motivation, to not start thinking about 2024 or to use that as leverage. And I'm not one to, encourage looking past events. Having said that, if you're struggling with motivation late in the year, then using a huge or bigger goal in 2024 to help carry you the last 3 to 4 to 5 weeks to keep you focused because it's going to benefit the goal going forward, then do it. I'm all for, especially when times get tough or the year is dragging on or you seem like you've been in a 30-week training block like some people probably have, is you kind of have to use every trick in the book, right? I'm training for this one. I'm training for 2024. Hell, maybe I'm even training for 2025. I want to set a PR in this. I want to crush the swim, or maybe I'll just go out and set anything to get you through the last few blocks, because it's the best time of year to train. The weather is great. There's not as many daylight hours, which I think is a bummer and a hard piece of it. But on the other side, it's like you should be feeling really, really, really good, and it's easier to accumulate more stress and not have it feel like such a heavy load. Because like we talked about on Tuesday, you can go out as the weather's changing, you can go out for an hour run 6 weeks ago, and it felt like 2 hours of stress because of the heat and the humidity, the dew point. Well, now in your fitter, the temperature drops, the dew point drops, there's no humidity. Now you're going out for an hour and 45, 2-hour runs that feel like hour runs, hour and 15 runs, which also begs the question, sometimes creates like a false level of, kind of panic with athletes. It's like, I feel really good. Shouldn't I be tired? Shouldn't I be worn down? Shouldn't I be, barely making it through the week? Shouldn't my legs feel shelled? Everyone else is talking about how terrible they feel, and that's, that should be normal, for me, right? And you're like, no, you're just getting the benefits of doing the same load of being consistent, over the course of the summer months, and now you're just reaping the benefits. And now you can do even better and cover better. Therefore, getting into your late season race, even pressure. So there's all these different emotions that come into play, and a lot of it is, we talked about this, reading athletes, in a psychological way and allowing them to kind of lead. This time of year and then next, like February, March, April, the beginning of the year are the two biggest times as a coach that you kind of have to poke and prod and massage emotions and motivation and commitment levels, and sometimes make a little bit, maybe a little bit stronger jab than you may have before, into getting someone motivated, because it is like, late season races are great, but unless you're in that, that cocoon of your buddies are all doing it, everyone else is checked out. Hey, you want to go live this weekend? No. I'm just doing sunset lake swims, trying to increase my brown fat to get ready for winter. And you're like, Jesus, that sounds like a great idea. Guess I'll head out for this 6-hour ride,
right?
And then my long run tomorrow alone. It just doesn't. But that's why you kind of gotta, be able to be flexible in your balance between internal motivation and external motivation. Because if you're struggling with that, right, with the late season race, bottom line, any motivation is good motivation as long as it allows you to get the job done.
Yeah, man, this is a isolating sport, and I think late season races can kind of make that to the 10th power or something like that because of that exact thing you just said. It's sort of like, hey, we're all hanging out this morning down at the beach with a little fire pit. You want to? Nah, I gotta. It's like nobody's around anymore. And I've done. I was trying to think. I've done obviously Chattanooga and Wisconsin. I went those are right. Chat's a little bit later, obviously, but back when Louisville was in October, I remember struggling for those because, like you said, I mean, it's football season, and I used to be even more into football back then, and it was kind of like, damn it, I just like, and I'm not an early morning guy, so I'd have to cross into the early afternoon and miss the first, few hours of the Saturday football stuff, and it wasn't easy. And but I wanted to go back to the quote about, the hardest Ironman is the one you're training for now, because man, does that resonate for me. It's like the first one I did was obviously super hard, but like you're saying, man, I had no idea. I was scared. I had these, internal goals, but I was also on the other side kind of unsure if I'd even finish. I mean, that's just the mystery that goes with it. But then you do one and you're like, all right, I can do this. And then you kind of, like you say, you sort of don't go at it with the same. It's like you're 100% jacked for the first one, and then maybe the second one you're maybe like 85% jacked, and there's kind of like, little blind spots in training that kind of get overlooked, and you kind of, maybe I will go to that fire pit today instead of, because I've done it. I know what's going on. Those kind of things creep in, and I can imagine late season racing right now, those kind of things are there. But, as you get into these, I mean, like, the last one I just did was the hardest, and the one before that was hardest. It's just like, that is sort of what it is, because you get out on that course and you're kind of like, man, I thought this was going to go better. I thought I knew what I was doing. And then it becomes even harder because you have to go through it, and you're not going to get what you got to get or you want to get. And I was just thinking, about setting outlandish goals too. You were talking about that. And I mean, I think that's the story of my life, but I think I need to, without being, more like kind of cocky about it, but I do, I've done that in the past on here where I've kind of called podiums and shit like that. But I just do that for me because it's sort of like, having a goal and telling somebody is a lot more powerful than just having a goal and, knowing you can be like, well, I just didn't do it. Nobody knows I had that goal. It's like, but if you have it out there and, this every year I've talked about it, usually my goal is to get on the podium, and I've never done that at a full. And maybe I should start saying I'm going to win my age group. And then maybe I'll land on the podium, with that kind of a approach to training and really actually training like you're going to do that, and then if, because usually I say that, but my day has to go absolutely perfect for that to happen. And of course it never does. So if you're shooting higher and you can land a little lower, but maybe that's the answer. So I'm not sure what that has to do with late season training, but it was something I was thinking about when you were talking.
Well, I think it speaks to the motivation piece.
Yeah.
Because I do think that listen, anytime it's going back to it's all relative. So you go back, talk as we discussed, like it's going back to the first one you did. Everything is new, so it's exciting. Mm-hmm. It's energized, it's engaging. You're pumped to do it. The same goes for late season races. You've been training for this all year. The closer you get, the longer you've been doing it. It's not so exciting anymore. Mm-hmm. Maybe you started to, maybe you're genuinely externally motivated, but you took that, external motivation bucket off the wall in May, and now it's empty. Now there's only so many motivational YouTube videos you can watch on the trainer, and you're like, I watch the same thing over and over and over again. My same, the jam that used to get me pumped up for minutes on the bike, it just ain't doing it for me anymore. That same run route I've done 498 times this year, I just got nothing. I'm tired of doing it. You get tired of it because you do it. That's why as we talked about Tuesday, it's like, it's just, you focus so much on one thing, your attention span is only so short, right? And I was going back and forth with an athlete. You also got Ironman California coming up in October. Yep. And this athlete's like, hey, can we hop on a call, tomorrow? Like, I want to, get a little bit of more context these last few weeks. I'm like, dude, context is simple. Get as much work get as much work done as you can. That's it. Miss as little, get in as much. It really is that simple. But athletes look for extra, I find, this time of year. A little extra for this because they don't get it from the places that they're used to getting it. There's not as many races on Ironman Live to watch, right? You still got, Kona for the women in October, which is super exciting, or probably be way more exciting than the men's race. But because your buddies are done, there's not much content out there, or you've basically exhausted every single content piece of motivation that you've gone to, right? The little thing you wrote in the mirror that gets you up in the morning, it's starting to fade and you're like, I don't want to read that shit anymore. I just want to go back to sleep. It's like you just need more, and that's okay. But at the same time, if you're considering late season races, take that into account. How long is your attention span? What time of year do you like to train the most in? Is this time of year you'd rather be, doing a quote unquote long ride on a weekday that's not that long, and sleeping in on a Saturday, getting a run in, and chilling on your couch all day watching college football? What sounds better? That's a tough choice. There's that's something to take into consideration. And a lot of people don't, train all the way through summer, but it also allows for some of your best performances because of that. Like if you have been an athlete, and I think that's, one of the things that really kind of hang your hat on if you're an athlete focusing on California in a few weeks, even Kona in a couple of weeks, in Chattanooga this weekend, Florida, Arizona, Cozumel, there's a lot of fulls left. I know it's getting close to you. I know you're tired. And when you're tired, right, you need more. You need more support. You need more energy, right? It's like, when it's like the halt, it's like, what is it? Hungry, alone, lonely, or hungry, anxious, lonely, tired. And that's like the signs for when someone's like in a really bad mood. And that's pretty much every triathlete in like peak training, whatever distance is, because it is your highest volume of the year, whether it's a sprint, whether it's a full. Your high volume is relative because it's your highest volume. So it's the most stressed, you're the most tired, you're the most sensitive to things, right? All of a sudden a bad run that you have 4 weeks out from a race is a lot more emotionally, disturbing to you than one you put together in February. It's no big deal. My race is, 8 months away. No biggie. Moving on, move on to the next day. Take one day at a time. And then you get athletes in peak training and it's like they go out for a 45-minute run. They're like, what? I'm done. I don't even want to do this race. This is the stupidest idea I've ever had. Who let me sign up for this?
Yeah.
I think I need to take a days off. I can't do it. My legs feel, they're dead. They're dead. I think I have rhabdo in my nose. I am so exhausted right now. I can't even move. And then you just kind of let them have their moment. It's kind of like their peak taper tantrum. And the next day they wake up and they're like, okay, I'm better. Fuck, that was a good workout. I didn't know I had that in me. Like, oh, the mood swings of peak training. Like, because tapering is I think the worst, but peak training is just as bad. And when you're doing it for so long and you feel like you get the least amount of support, then it feels even harder. So like that again, like you find, obviously kind of close your circle the closer you get to race day for a lot of reasons. Because if you tend to, and again, that speaks a lot to, I think, where a lot of athletes struggle is they crave and they need and they rely on external motivation. The same thing goes for an early season race like Texas. Ain't nobody doing that. No one wants to be in the trainer for 5 hours in March alone, or the other friends, out, cross country skiing or, watching hockey or football or doing whatever. That's all they're doing. There you are alone in your basement in the dark, watching, season 7 of Sons of Anarchy for the 19th time, which to be fair, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great show, but you need more. And so I have always found that athletes with real early season races or real late season races have to have a high level of internal motivation internally. They don't need a lot. They don't need the extras. They don't need the bells and whistles. They don't need the extra content and motivation and rah. They just want to get it done. And because that you're going to reap some big time benefits, right? And it's the late time year. And that's just something you've got to continue to key on. And also, I think, recognize in yourself, right? Physically, everyone's tired. They just are. Peak training, everyone feels a little bit of fatigue. And that's just normal. That's okay, right? But you probably just got a little reprieve from the weather. And that's why I also think it does come in a great time. That's why you see so many athletes have great late season performances, is that just when things seem like they're impossible and they seem like they're so far away, you get a fitness boost from the seasonal EPO, as we call it, and the temperature drops, RPE goes lower, heart rate's lower, pace is higher, watts are, higher watts, you're feeling better. You go from swimming in the outdoor pool that's 50 meters to the indoor pool, and you're like a freaking fish. You go from averaging 135s to 126, you're not even trying. You need that. It's a great mental boost. Things feel better. It's less stress when you're done. You're not having to recover it just as hard as or as much as you were 8 weeks ago. Those things get you. Now it's just about staying focused, stay detailed. You're in the home stretch. The highest distraction rate and self-sabotage rate from athletes comes in the final 8 weeks of training. Always has, always will. It always happens in the most pressurized, intensive, close in proximity period and block to the race, because expectations now become reality. It really does become close. Rides start to get skipped. They start to get dramatically shortened. Long runs are just, I just feel like doing it today. And you might want to blame it on or put the finger on, long late season, or I'm just tired. But a lot of it is you just don't have the mental stamina to stay focused. So you talk yourself out of it. You use excuses, or your expectations are now you've created such a high expectation for the race that whatever it's going to give you from a time and digital result on the scoreboard or on the timing mat, finisher clock, whatever you want to call it, or what it's going to do for you emotionally and mentally, then now you're terrified it's not going to come to fruition. It'll carry you far, but then when it comes to, when the push comes to shove, I'm not really sure if it's going to deliver, and I'm not sure I can deliver. So then you see self-sabotage come in, and that is it. I see the most inconsistency with athletes and self-sabotage those last 6 to 8 weeks of training than you will any other time of the year.
One of the greatest concepts I've ever heard was this idea of, if you're focused on something and you're going for something and it gets hard and you're trying so hard and you're getting, it's overwhelming you and it gets to the point where you're about ready to quit, that's about when you're ready to have a breakthrough, and you just have to stick it through. And I think that happens in, obviously, triathlon, like you're saying, the last 8 weeks, the hardest time of the training. And life, anything you're trying to do to better yourself in life, you're like, I'm going to change. And you're like, you do it for a couple of weeks and you're like, man, I can't do this. I'm about ready to go crazy. That's about when the breakthrough's waiting to happen. You just have to get through it. It's sort of a test from the universe or God or whatever you want to call it. And I think that's how life works. We go through hard things and we always say, I can't handle this anymore. And then if you just hang on a little bit longer, and I think that translates into races, obviously, too, because, you want to throw in the towel. And, I just went through that. I wanted to throw the towel in on that run 100 times, but I just kept going and kept going. And then when you get done, that's the breakthrough, right? You got a whole different perspective on things and whatever. I mean, the thing about, we're all doing this for the right reasons. I think we need to put tough things on our calendar and challenges in our life to grow. And I think we kind of misconstrue how painful growth can be at times, but how much easier it makes things on the other side of it. We go through it, and I think you lose track of that too, because, triathlon is this big piece of inertia that starts here and sort of like gradually goes here. And then, a year later, you're like, wow, I came a long way, but it's very difficult to recognize in the moment. And I think that's a trick sometimes, is that we get into these, into our heads and this emotional stuff, and we think nothing's really going the, way we want it to, but we forget where we came from a lot. And it's just amazing to me. So, I think about stuff like, especially these days, we sign up for a race and, excitement is everywhere. So how do we sort of change excitement into fulfillment? And because everything gets old, in theory, I mean, I don't care what it is. I mean, I remember, read a book or something and about meditation. I'm like, tomorrow I'm going to start meditating like crazy. And then,
yeah, 3 times a day, 3 minutes each
go
time.
crazy. And then it's like, it's kind of, it's working, but you can't really keep a finger on it necessarily. And then about, a year later, if you keep it up, you're like a totally different, thinker and a different mindset and things like that. But you don't see it. And you're like, man, this is hard. And I don't know if this is really paying off, but it is. It's just hard to stick with it because, I mean, everything's new, right? New race, new this, new that. That it's a war for your attention out there. And I could see how, I've seen people like, I think I need to do this. And then the next day, something else pops up on their feed that's exactly the opposite. And they're like, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should just, whatever. I mean, it's just always this thing. So how do you create a fulfillment or excitement in the fulfillment of something, the process? And that, I think, is a challenge, man, because it's so easy to just sort of jump over, leapfrog on a different, trains all the time and feel like you're going somewhere, but you're really just going back and forth because you jump, it's like instead of just staying with it, that kind of like train's actually a good metaphor, I think, is that, that thing just kind of, slowly but powerfully keeps moving down the track. And in fact, that documentary I talked about the other day, I have all these shots of these trains. And I think train is interesting because that's what we do. And trains are just, methodically just going right down the track and nothing's stopping them, but they're not the fastest thing in the world, but they just always get to the destination, and it's just consistency.
And one of the things, because I love that analogy, is one of the things about a train itself too is it's insanely hard to slow down.
Right.
Whether it's going 30 miles an hour or 40, it needs a huge heads up to be slowed down and to stop, because it's that slow, like we've always talked about with business and with the podcast and with training, is that slow burn. It's a lot easier to keep a slow burn going, right, than let a fire burn itself out. Mm-hmm. Let it get out of control. Got to burn it out. Put it out, or it takes over everything and then it's gone. And that's why I love that. That's why it's so important to keep things in check and have reminders of how important we are and what we have to offer to the journey. And that's all we should expect to get out of it, is what we put in. We shouldn't expect anything extra, extra validation, extra this, extra that. It's just we get out and we have the privilege of doing this, and we reap the rewards from the work we put in. Yes, we can be too hard on ourselves. Yes, we can look down on ourselves. Yes, we can be too confident, or not confident enough. But the lessons and the benefits come in the journey. They don't come in the race. One of our very first podcasts, we say, it's like training for your first sprint or 70.3 or your 19th Ironman. The race day is graduation, walking across, getting your diploma, walking off. It's the things you along the way, the friendships, the commitment, the increased fitness, right? The health. How much better do you feel? I mean, it's endless. And to be so close to the destination, to be so close to the finish line, to be so close to getting there, I think it is scary. And I think a lot of people, to what I said before about self-sabotage and inconsistency, is people are afraid for it to be over. Mm-hmm. I don't want it to be over. I love this version of me. I love having a schedule. I love having the structure. I love what it does for me. I love how it keeps me in line. I love all this. I mean, hell, right, 80, 85, 90% of the athletes we work with, they year-round basis. Training's always changing. It's always, flexible. We got December rules. We got P-train, whatever it is. But it's one of those things where we hate to think what life might be like without it in. And I think that terrifies people. And I also think that it speaks to the amount of leverage we give the completion of an event. and what we expect, and why a lot of people are so frequently disappointed is that they put so much stock in what a finishing medal or time will give them and change who they are. Race day very few times changes who you are, because it's a day. It's a day. That's it. And so if you think about it, right, we're going back to how we started off the conversation and the sophomore slump, and when you have a distance that's terrifying, or a location and a potential, environment that's terrifying, or doing something faster, or a goal that's terrifying. It's not the completion of the goal that gives you and grows you. It is the dedication and the commitment and the motivation to stick to something where you don't know the outcome, and you don't know that you'll meet your goal, and you don't know if you'll fit your finish, but you do it, and it's hard, but it's scary as hell, because you're not guaranteed the perfect day. I want you to think about that for a minute.
Okay.
We say no one's. I mean, if I could put you on my couch for a minute, it's like no one's guaranteed a good race day. Frankly, just because you think you deserve one doesn't mean you're going to get one. You don't know what you're going to get. And I think that should be terrifying in a good way. Should make you fearful in a good way. That all you need to do, and what you should do and be encouraged to do and motivated to do and committed to do, is increase the probability, to increase the chances in your training, not just physically, but more importantly, mentally and emotionally, that when it comes to race day, that you are ready. You're not just ready physically, but you're mentally and emotionally resilient and committed to overcoming the day. That's it. Because doing that and waking up and acknowledging that, but choosing to also move forward, it's the 30-minute runs that change you. The 19 of them you do in a row. It's the weeks in a row you're worried about a workout, or you're not sure of that, or you get frustrated. But you know what? You don't throw in the towel. You get your ass up, you hit the pool, you get back in, you try harder. That's the stuff that changes you. All those, the 30, 40, 50, 60, hundreds of workouts you do leading up to any race. Hundreds of workouts. Tens of hundreds of hours probably of training. Time alone in your head. Time with friends. Times pushing yourself. Time being scared you can't do it. Times of elation because you see that you can do it, right? Periods of boredom, periods of excitement and endorphin rushes, like all those endless and those conversations you have for yourself, the negotiation. Don't do it. Yeah, let's do it. Don't go run today. I'm going to run today. It's too cold. Just sit in the side. Oh, that hot tub looks good. I don't think I can swim today. Just a nice little loosen up day. I'm in a recovery day. Nope, I'm getting into my 3,500. Those negotiations, the conversations, the overcoming, talking through the self-doubt, listening to how you feel, working through things in your body, staying committed, that changes you. The race day doesn't. It's a day. One day. Because I had this exact conversation with an athlete a couple of days ago. They were asking about, what race should I do? What am I thinking about doing? I'm worried about this. I'm, kind of worried, about that. And we started talking about, validation. And I said that, I think one of the biggest issues that you have is, you look for, validation. And I just said, I simply said, your performance is never because of your fitness. It's because of your head. And I said, you also look to each race in desperate need of validation. That's not fair to the race, and it's definitely not fair to your hard work. And she just said, never consider that. Should I not need validation? And I said, from a triathlon? No. Because it's an event. It's a day. It doesn't represent who you are, and it sure as hell, it doesn't It doesn't show you all the things that you've become along the way. But if you tread the line, if you straddle the fence, if you're waiting in training to have your growth day and your day of change and becoming a new person, right? And your day of being validated, if you're expecting that to come on race day, you're going to be waiting for a long ass time. Because either one, it's not going to come in the way and shape and form you wish, or two, what's going to happen when it does come? Then what are you left with? Just going back to normal? Chasing the next? It's the journey. It's the process. That's what makes it better. And that's why staying so focused in these late season races, staying so focused on a year-round basis, seeing things to the end. Don't do it for the race. Do it for you. See it through. It's scary and it's good and it's hard and it's great. That's why I hate how easy so many things have become. It's made us lazy. It's made us soft. It's made us expect easy. And when like the smallest hiccup comes, it's devastating, and we don't know how to adapt, and our problem solving skills and our resiliency is just gone down the toilet. That's what makes us who we are. So when you opt out and when you stop and you quit, it's not the race that you're selling short. It's your growth and your journey and your opportunity that you're selling short. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
No, I like it, man. It's I think it's really important. I think we're very hard on ourselves. I think harder than other people, and I've actually heard from a ton of athletes and just people that listen to the cast or whoever that have emailed me and congratulating on finishing, which on a day by the way, which I was very kind of hard on myself and disappointed and whatever. But, they're saying what an accomplishment, 10 Ironman in 10 years basically. And I really had a thought about, it's sort of like exactly what you're saying. It's sort of like how easy it is to forget the body of work and how important that is, because that's the whole thing. It's like we continually these days, I feel like so many people just chase epic. And, of course, one of the things, I don't know why, but one of the things that comes to my mind when I think of epic was that big ride we had on the Trace and the thunderstorm, and it was pouring rain, and we went, I went from, I don't know, that was my longest ride by far when we started training, and it was close to 120 miles or whatever. And it got done and it was amazing, and it definitely sticks out, but it was the whole summer and the spring and everything else that built up to that even allowed me to do that. We see like these amazing, impossible stories posted on our feeds every day, like he never ran a mile and then he just decided to do Leadville and he won it, whatever. It's like, I feel like that shit is everywhere now, and we all kind of want a piece of it. Or, you know what I mean? It's just so natural, I think, to be like, I just want to shock the world with something right now. But the reality is that, I don't know if those things half the time are true or whatever, but it takes a long time. And again, the body of work is really what matters. And to be able to appreciate that is not easy, I don't think. You always want it, like you're saying, it's like, even the day of Ironman is like the body of work, for me was like 14 hours this time. But it's so easy just to like look at that time. That's it. Like that's not what happened that day. I went through hell and back and got through it and made, unbelievable amounts of decisions and, fought through battles out there on my own. And really that's what it's all about. It's not about the time, how shallow is it just to kind of like remember that race by that? What a day. Who goes through shit like that? Other than people listening to this podcast, but normal people have no idea what that is, and it's something to hang your hat on. I think, it's just, and I think we forget that. It's so weird that you get done with something like that and you kind of feel like you're a loser. It's like, what the hell is that? How many people have done that? It's like, well, I'm so disappointed. I don't know. I feel bad, terrible about that day. And what you went through, like, come on, man. Like that day, I thought about this. It's like, there's nothing like that. I mean, there is, but, for the most part, most people would never, ever go through that type of a struggle and pain. And wow, that does, I mean, you're right. The race day doesn't change you, but it certainly puts another, plate of armor on you.
That's the fucking cherry on top.
Yeah. And there's something unbelievable about it, but we lose track of it because it's just about, yeah, I did it. And then, we forget really what it was. I crossed the finish line, like the whole struggle of that day kind of goes away when you hit that red carpet. We talk about that all the time, but wow, how many highs and lows were going through your head all day, and just to be able to get there, I mean, we got to take that and run with it.
Yeah, run, don't walk.
Well, I mean,
unless you
mix it in.
Yeah, no, it is. It's something. That's right. Something it's always easy to. It's always, especially the longer you're in it, the easier it is to forget. And I think the last thing I'll say on that, and we can wrap it up, is I think one of the other things that we think about, and as we do that for the first time, we're scared, we're fearful, but then we know it all. But then we also, in the back of our mind, we also know how bad it hurts. We know how bad it hurts. There is no hiding from it. No matter what race it is, you hurt. You hurt. We sign ourselves up. We pay an entry fee, pay for a training plan, pay for a coach, pay for gear, pay for a hotel, take time off, dedicate, supplements, whatever it is, recovery, to go out and push ourselves with a certain level, whether it's low level or high level of pain, for a number of hours, or in some people, an entire day. That, to me, is why a lot of people say, oh, I can't do that. It's not the physical stuff. I think they can't mentally wrap their brain around, who the hell want to do that? And that sounds crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go back and you think about and you consider the things in your life that have changed you, it's not that random Tuesday that went perfectly. Sun was shining, 65 degrees, hoodie and shorts, things went perfectly. You had the perfect day. That's not what changes you. That's where you had to, like, some short, quick example. I played tennis the other day, 2 days ago, and the guy I play with, we were on fire. Perfect day, super easy match. We just blew the dust off these guys, and it was almost effortless. 2 days before, played some that were different, insanely close match. Every game was tight. We had to fight back. We were down 5-3 in the second, down a couple set points that would have taken to a third, fought back and won. Which one do you think I was more proud of? More happy with? Learned more. So had suspenseful moments. Had more. You had to be clutch. You had to be, it's not like, life or death. I'm not playing in Wimbledon here, but it's like, that's the one where you learn stuff from. Yeah, the easy ones are great, and they're, but you can't hang your hat on them because they're never going to happen again. But it's the ones where you kind of like have to grind it out and figure it out, where you're not perfect and you're not all the way on it, but you got to find a way to be good enough each time, each point, each session, each training, each race. You got to figure it out. That's where you grow, and that's what gives you confidence. Period. And I honestly think that the reason I played so well the other day, it was the next day, 2:00 versus like a 6:00 match the night before, was because I had gone through that, kind of that tough match. It was a back and forth where you had to be clutch and you had to make it happen. That's why I think it felt so effortless the next day. And that's, again, just to use the analogy, that's what training is when it comes to race day and it comes to life. It's the hard stuff. It's the stuff that challenges you, the stuff that doesn't come easy. That's what you sign up for. You want to be comfortable. You want to be lazy. You want to be stale. You want to start dying. You don't want to get better. Then just sit on your ass and do nothing. Do nothing. Play it safe. Regress. Become unhealthy. You want to push yourself? You want to grow? You want to stay motivated? You want to get mentally stronger, emotionally, have like a higher level of emotional well-being, get physically fit, challenge yourself, meet great people, push through the pain, learn things about yourself, be prepared for life, do endurance sports. That's why we sign up. That's why we pay money. That's what we learn, and that's how we grow.
Yeah. And I'll just add, because I just went through it, but the hard part about going through it, doing your late season race, is getting back in the game. I mean, take a little time, recoup, do what you need to do, but that's what I'm going through. It's just like, don't throw it all away. It's a big day, and it's something great to snowball on. And that's the hard part, is getting back into it after those things too, because you feel like if you feel like you hung the medal on the wall and you just did it and now it's over. It ain't over. It keeps going. I'm telling you. And you're going to kind of get behind the 8 ball again and then just go through it again. So that's my thought on hard for racers if you've just finished.
Yep.
Get back in.
Nailed it.
Don't get in
Nailed
easier.
It. And the funny thing is that, looking at that, I changed our cover photo for our Crushing Iron Facebook group to that shot of you and I on the course. We're a little fist bump from Wisconsin. It's funny to think about, the day was a failure or thinking through things and how well someone is. Like, you look at that photo and how you look on the hardest part of the day after a long ass day. What, 11 years older, 12 years older than you were when you did your first 5K? You still look like a totally different, healthier, stronger person. You know how crazy that is? What I mean? Like that picture you had when I just remember it like vividly from like training for your first 5K.
Mm-hmm.
And that picture of you and you're overweight and you're like just getting started into running. Like that version of you, what, 12 years younger? Something like that? 12, 13 years younger versus, a snapshot of you after, 13 hours of an Ironman and 13 years older. You still look younger and healthier and stronger than you did back then. Isn't that crazy?
Wow, that is crazy. I remember that photo too. I think I was faster back then, though.
I'm not sure about that. maybe in a 5K, 30-second sprint. That might think exactly. Maybe I don't even know about a 5K, man.
That's a good point. I don't know, but no, yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I saw that. That was a cool picture, man. It really. It's always cool to have those moments together because we've gone through so much, and just those snapshots, like you're saying, man, that really kind of pop off and really tell a story.
Keep the fist bump alive.
You're looking, a lot thinner too, by the way.
I mean, I'm not. I don't have, 19. I don't have 19 gallons of vodka coursing through my veins either. That helps me look a little bit differently. The other day before school, Hayden was like, "What if you didn't have any hair or didn't have a beard?" No, buddy, that's how I used to look. He was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Why?" And I'm like, "Listen, man, didn't make a lot of good choices back then. I mean, I wouldn't say I looked terrible. I showed him a picture, and he was like, "Oof, don't do that again." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I hear you. Preaching to the choir, buddy."
That's so funny, man. I've got a full length interview with you looking like that. Maybe I'll post that up there.
Are you talking about the one on like New Year's Day?
Yeah, my basement. The first
dude,
I'd only known you for like a month, 2 months at that point or something.
Oh, what was that? So it's 23. That was what, 2012, 12?
I think it was 12 because I did 13. So you would have just came into my life.
So that was, what, 11 years ago? Yeah, it was New Year. I remember it was New Year's Day, and it was New Year's Eve night. I was out till 4 a.m. just knackered, obviously. And then I think I woke up like at 8 or 9 and went to Broadway Brew House at 10. Had some brunch, had a couple, a little hair of the dog, and then found my way to your house to watch the Wisconsin bowl game. I think you guys got smoked too, but
probably.
I can't remember who you played. It was a bowl game, right? Wisconsin bowl game.
Yeah, because I think you were wearing a Wisconsin hoodie that day.
I was wearing a black Wisconsin hoodie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Just
eventually that'll be out there in the documentary.
Maybe that'll be behind the paywall.
For sure. You got to pay to see that.
Pay to play. All right, guys, we love you as always. We appreciate you. Come back and see us next week. We'll do what we can, deliver another week of 2 episodes, give you all kinds of nice, fun things to think about and consider for the rest of the year and even next year. Go to our website, c26triathlon.com, and there's a one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. Looking for coaching assistance in any way, shape, or form for the rest of this year or next year. Want to be part of an amazing team with awesome people. Go to our website and click on the coaching tab and find the coach that's right for you. If you need anything from Mike, he is available. CrushingIron@gmail.com. Or if you need anything from me specifically, c26coach@gmail.com.
All right, my man. I'll catch you.
Check you later.
Have a great weekend.
All right, see you, dude.